Hi, I'm Gary, and I'm very pleased to show you my Rename a Duper script for After Effects. Here's what the whole UI looks like. It's rather large right now, but if you click on the preferences, there's all these checkboxes in the UI options, and I'm going to uncheck most of these just to show you the basics at first. This is what it looks like when it's shrunken down. Now that it's made a little smaller, I'll show you the main features. The script can rename, and it can duplicate, and it also has a feature called Dupe List, which I'll explain later on. The Apply button changes colors to indicate what it's doing. I'll start first with a very simple feature called Rename. In the mode pull-down, there are 6 different kinds of renaming and duplication modes. I'll start with the simplest first, which is Find and Replace. There's an input to search and an input to replace. In this example, I'll type in 1 to search, and I'll type in the replace text as 2. In this very simple project, I've got a main comp, and then I've got a pre-comp inside it, placed in there twice. Back in the UI, underneath the search and replace inputs are the comp name and the text layer columns. These have checkboxes to the left to determine what will be renamed or not. I'll start by checking the comp name checkbox. I'll select the comp, as well as the project folder and any other comps, and I'll hit rename. And what it does is it renames the comps from 1 to 2. I'll hit undo. If I check in the text layers checkbox and select on things, and hit rename, it will replace the words both in the comp names as well as the text layers that are inside. Similarly, if I select a pre-comp inside a main comp and I hit apply, it'll rename that comp and the text inside. Then there's the recursive checkbox. When this is checked, it'll enable the extra 2 checkboxes next to comp name and text layers. This allows the script to recursively go into pre-comps and the pre-comps inside to rename. So I have these 2 checkboxes checked as well. I'll click on the main comp and hit rename. And it does the same. It goes in and it renames all the pre-comps with inside. There's a pull down next to it which allows you to decide how far deep to go down. Currently it's set to infinity, but it could be set to 1 up to 20. As you can see in the type, not only does it rename the type, but it also keeps the same text style, color, and sizes. If you only want to rename the comp names without renaming the text, you can uncheck the text layers. And then all it will do is rename the comps themselves without renaming the text. Or if you only want to rename the text layers, you can have the text layers checked. Another feature that was added is the search button. Whatever's entered in the search input, when you click on the eyeball to search, it'll automatically search for and select any matching items in the project window. When you click on the clear button up on the top right, it clears out both the search and the replace inputs. Now on to the fun stuff. Next to the rename button is the duplicate button. This does the exact same thing, but it will actually duplicate the comps, as well as the pre-comps within. So I'll select main 1 here, and I'll hit duplicate. And that's all it does. It created a main comp and a pre-comp, both renaming the comp names and the text with inside. Also, if you deselect the comp in the project window and select a pre-comp within the timeline and duplicate, it'll duplicate that pre-comp on top. However, if you have them selected and you hold down Option or Alt and hit Apply, it'll create 2 additional pre-comps in the project window. I'm going to take this moment to go back into the preferences to turn on a few other things, show you what they do. There's a Show Summary checkbox, and then there's a checkbox to select duplicates. When duplicates are made, it'll deselect the originals and then select the new duplicates. I'm going to go to the UI options and turn on label colors to make things show a little bit easier. Here's the label colors, which can be applied to both the main comp or the pre-comps, or just the pre-comps. In the label color pull down, it lists all the custom label colors that you might have created. Here I've got one called dark greeny. Otherwise, I've kept most of the basic ones intact, but you can change them in your AE preferences as much as you'd like, and they will show up in this list. Also, there's a random option, so it'll randomize the colors. Also, when the duplicate checkbox is checked, it brings up the copies pull down, which allows you to make multiple copies of a comp. So I'll have this set to 4. It goes up to 100, but that's kind of insane. I'll select main here, have it set to 4, and I'll duplicate. And it brings up a nice summary window to show you what's been done. And it created 4 new main comps and 4 new pre-comps within. But wouldn't it be a pain to have to rename all these ones if you want to change them up? Let me show you what Dupe List does. It's really straightforward. I'll click on Dupe List. It turns off copies. And what it does, it allows you to type in multiple items in the replace text. So I've got 2 selected here. I'll type in 3, 4, 5, and 6 for good measure. And then I'll select the main comp, set to Dupe List, I'll make the UI a little bit bigger to show the button. And then I'll select Dupe List. And what you can see is it's done is it's created 5 new comps, renaming each one with one of the names within the replace text. So I'll click on 6, and it shows as 6, renaming the comps and the text within. I'll hit undo and show you some of the other features. I'll go back into the preferences and I'll turn on Prefix and Suffix. This brings up a dialog that allows you to add or replace both prefix and suffix. You can set it up so it'll add a prefix to all the main comp and a suffix to the pre-comps. I'll show you a quick example of what it looks like. I'll type AAA and ZZZZ. I'll select the main comp and I'll duplicate. And what it's done is put AAA before and ZZZ in all the pre-comps. Suffix was set to replace, so it replaced the word comp with the ZZZ in all the new pre-comps. By default, the words are separated by carriage returns, but in the options, there's the option to have it by comma separated or blank line separated, which will allow you to use multi-line replacements. I'll hit undo and show you some of the other features. In the mode pull-down, there's the multi-find and replace, which is very similar, but what it does is it'll actually replace multiple items. So right now I've got 1, and let's say I type in pre in here, and this one I'll type in 2, and then I'll type in something fun, say fun, and I'll select the main comp here. And I'll go to for rename currently right now. And when I do, I'm going to turn off suffix and prefix because I don't want to do that anymore. I'll select the main comp and I'll hit rename. It'll search for anything with 1 and replace that with 2. And it'll search for anything that has pre in it and replace that with fun. So it's changed the type within the pre-comp to fun, and it's even changed the pre-comp name to fun to comp. Now I'll show you how the sanitized search and the sanitized replace works. Oftentimes I'll have type in the comp that's got a forward slash in it. But we all know that forward slashes are not good to have in comp names. And some people like to have no spaces in their comp names. I'll show you how it works. I'll go to the preferences here. I have sanitized comp name characters checked, and inside I'll type in all the characters that I want to have sanitized. I've got forward slashes, I've got question mark, and then I've got space. And if I wanted to remove commas, I'll just type in comma. And here's how it works. Say I've got find and replace, I'll have 87C and 1110C in the name. I'll select the comp and apply. And what it's done is it puts the 1110C in the comp text, and it automatically removes the forward slash from the comp name. Similarly, if I want to change July 15th to something like July 19th, and I'll apply, it changed it to July 19th in the comp, and it changed the type in the comp name to July 19th without a space. So having to search and replace can sometimes be a drag because you always have to enter the search, and sometimes you don't type it in right. So then what I implemented was a force replace method. This will actually replace text, it'll force it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Tuesday, and then because Monday resides in the second section of the comp name between underscores, I have this set to the first section, which is the first section between underscores. Then I'll have the text set because Monday is the top. I'll have it set to replace the top text, and I'll hit rename. And you can see it renamed Tuesday within the comp, and it renamed Tuesday in the comp name. There's also the option to replace all the type, which sometimes doesn't look so great. So then what I added was filtering, and I'll go to the preferences to show you all the filtering. Under text layer selection control, I can have it so it skips locked text, skips shy, skipped hidden, and skipped guide layer, as well as using label colors to exclude or include. Same when it goes into duplicating pre-comps. Those can also be blocked by having locked layers, shy layers, as well as only include, exclude, or label colors. Within the inputs, if I want to have it say starts with, I can type something that starts with one word. Then I can have it only include other names by typing in a comma. You can type in as many words as you'd like. So to make things easy, I'm going to turn on skip locked text layers, and then I'll hit skip locked layers as well. Now I'm going to lock the layers that I don't want to have altered. I'll select the comp and I'll apply, and it only changes that one text layer. This way, if I want to make extra dates, and I'll go to Dupe List, I'll type in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I'll Dupe List it, and it'll automatically make those versions. That's not quite the best example because each of these has the same date. So I'm going to do some start over again. So here I've got a comp which says Tuesday 1110C. And I'm going to do 3 versions here. I'll have Dupe List selected, and I'll select that there. And I'll hit Dupe List, and they're all done. So there's a Wednesday, and there's a Thursday, and then there's a Friday. Now what happens if they decide to change the time in all of these? That's pretty simple. I could always use the find and replace, but typing things in is never fun. I've added a named text layers feature. What this does is it actually looks for the name of the layers themselves and renames those based on the text layer names. I'll show you how that works. I'm going to go into the preferences and turn off skip lock text just to be sure. I'll select all the comps here. I'll type in time in the layer names because the name of the layer I want to change is called time. I'll change that to 9/8C, and then I'll change the section to before last because the time in the comp names is just before the last underscore, and I'll hit rename. And it instantly changes all the comps to 9/8C. In this comp, if I want to change Wednesday to next Wednesday, I'll type in day as the text layer name because that's day, and I'll type in next Wednesday. I'll have the check it to underscore to go back to the first section, and I'll rename it. And it changes to next Wednesday in the comp as well as in the comp name. It can also do multiple named text layers. I'll show you how that works. I'll have one set to day, and I'll have it say another set to time. And in here, I've got one word in between the 2 underscores, Tuesday 11/10C. I'm going to change it to next Tuesday 9/8C. I'll select duplicate. I'll have it set to replace the first section, which is between both of these underscores. Here's the pull down, which determines how many layered named text items to insert into the comp name. I'm going to have it set to all. So it's going to insert both the day and the time into the comp names. I'll hit duplicate. And as you can see, it's created a next Tuesday 9/8C, changing both the day and the time text layers. And it shows up in the comp. Also, I can have it set to control layer visibility. What it does is I'll type in date here, and in here, I'll type in August 5th. The date text layer is turned off, but then I'll check control layer visibility. And what that does is it'll actually turn on the layer visibility of the layer name date, or any layer that it finds. I'll duplicate that, and what it's done is it's created next Tuesday, August 5th, 9/8C. You can't really see the type too well. And in the comp name, it's also named that as well. And it's turned on the visibility of the date text layer. The named text layers mode is handy for doing quick fixes and small jobs. What really is more robust is the spreadsheet named text. And what this does is it actually has a spreadsheet that you can use. Here I've got it basically filled out with day, date, and time. I've got Monday, August 11th, 10/9C. Next Monday, 10/9C. I'm going to hit duplicate, and that duplicates the last line. I'll change one to like tonight, 10/9C. I'll duplicate again. I'll do one called tomorrow, and I'll duplicate it one more time. I'll have this one called next, and I'm going to delete the time from this one here. So here I've got 5 different entries. I could load a CSV from an Excel spreadsheet or similar. So if I want to save this, I could save this out to my drive, or I could load it back in. So here I've got it all entered. I'll hit OK. In this information, it's set to rename. When it's set to rename, it's only going to rename using the very top one here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit select to duplicate, and this will create 5 new comps based off this here. I'll change label color to red to make it easier to see. I'll select the comp. I'll have it set to duplicate, and I'll hit duplicate. And as you can see, it's created 5 new comps, a tonight 10/9C, tomorrow, next Monday, and a Monday, August 11th, 10/9C. In the next, it actually turned off the layer visibility of both the date and the time text layers. So going back to named text layers, I'll show you how it works with pre-comps. Currently I'll have this selected. I'll have day, date, time set to Friday, August 5th, 9/8C. I'll select here. I'll have Recursive turned off first to show you how it looks. I'll hit rename, and it changes the type inside, day, date, and time, and it changes the comp name. What I can then do is I can turn on Recursive, and what there's added is the ability to use keywords in the names. So in the pre-comps, they're called pre-8/7C, pre-July 15th, and pre-Monday. I'm going to type in the keywords pre_. And what this does is that it actually will rename any type layers following pre_ in the comp names. So I'll select this here. I'll have Recursive turned on. I'll hit rename. And what it's done is actually rename the comp and the type inside, and it's renamed all the pre-comps based on the actual layers that it finds. So in here it found time, and it changed the name of the pre-comp to pre-9/8C. In this example, it left the / in the comp name because I didn't turn on also sanitized pre-comp names. To do that, I'll turn on also sanitized pre-comp names, and I'll hit rename. I'll select it again, and this sanitized the names of both 9/8C and the August 5th without a space inside, as well as removing spaces in the main comp name as well. This works exactly the same way as when you go to the spreadsheet name text mode as well. I have a whole bunch set up here. I'll hit OK. I'll select the main type, and I'll set it to duplicate. And you created a tonight, a tomorrow, a next Friday, and a next. I'll hit undo and show you the last mode, which is spreadsheet find and replace, which is very similar, and it creates a very similar spreadsheet. And what this mode does is that it searches for the type within the text layers, just like the regular find and replace. So here's a spreadsheet where I have in the text search text Friday, August 5th, 9/8C to match the type in here. I'll have all the replacements here, changing it to 10/9C. I'll hit OK, and I'll click on here and duplicate. And what it's done is it's actually found, it searches for all the type and it replaces it. I'll quickly show how the fixed expressions work. I'll click on the preferences, turn on fixed expressions, and here I've got a main comp where it's got the type Monday in here, and it's got a pre-comp inside, which is actually, the type is actually linked to the main comp. I'll have Monday in the search and Friday in the replace, and I'll select the main comp and I'll rename it. Oh, actually I'll duplicate it. And what it's done is it's created a Friday version where the pre-comp is also typed to the main comp. I've also got a color fill here so I can change the color as well. So you can see there's a Friday's main comp with the Friday's pre-comp that are linked up, and I've still got a Monday where the pre-comp is linked to the main comp. Now let's go into some of the other features. In the UI, I've got a thing called a top apply button. And what it does is it puts a little apply button all the way in the top. So this way the script can be made really small and dockable. Now let's go into the grouping. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, go back into the preferences. I'm going to turn off some of the other things which we've already gone through. I'm going to turn on grouping and element options. And here's all the grouping options here. I'll hit undo. So when the group comps folder checkbox is checked and a name is entered, say I'll call this one main group, and I'll select the main comp here. I'll duplicate it, and it creates a new folder called main group, and inside is the main comp, and then it creates a folder called pre-comps. Inside the pre-comps folder are all the other pre-comps. Now, if I have original hierarchy selected and I hit the main comp and I duplicate, it creates folders based on the actual names that the original pre-comps resided in. So here I had inner pre-comps here, and inside this inner pre-comps I had a folder called extra pre-comps, and extra pre-comps is here. So it matches the exact hierarchy of the original folder structure. So this one created a main comp Fridays. Now say I wanted to make another one and have this one called, and have Monday replaced with Tuesday. If I use the same name called main group and I select the main comp and I duplicate, it'll place all the duplicates in that same exact main group folder. So here's the Tuesday version. I did not turn on fixed expressions. I'll hit undo. I'll do that again. Here it created a Tuesday version inside the same main group folder name. If hierarchy is selected, it creates a very similar hierarchy, but it actually creates the folder names based off the names of the actual comp. So here's main Tuesday, and here's main Tuesday comp pre-comps, and pre-comp Tuesday pre-comps folder. When renaming and grouping is checked, what it does is it actually just organizes your folders. So here I've got the main comp selected. I'll hit rename, and it automatically reorganizes the project folder, putting everything in the main folder here. And here's how the duplicate footage feature works. I'll have the main comp selected, and I've got a bunch of random elements inside, and I'll select movies and stills and solids and vectors, and I'll select the main comp and hit duplicate. And what it's done is it actually duplicated all the elements inside and replaced that inside the new main comp and inside the new pre-comp. It's created individual folders for each element type. If I wanted them all to be placed in a single footage folder, I'll do that as well. And what it's done is it put all the footage and assets into one folder, keeping the solids separate. If footage in hierarchy is checked, what it does is it actually places each folder of elements and footage within the hierarchy. Here's the footage in the main comp, and here's the footage that's in the pre-comp. If I turn off single footage folder and do that, it creates numerous individual folders for everything. Now I'll go back into the preferences and show the comp change options. I'll turn off the grouping and turn off comp change options. And what this does is it's very straightforward. It changes the comp settings. I can change the frame rate. So in this one I've got 29.7. I'll change the comp rate frame rate to 23.96. I'll set the start frame to 1 and the duration to say 45, and the background color I can change as well. And I'll hit apply. And what it's done is it's changed the comp background color to green and changed the frame rate to 23.976. I didn't turn on the pre-comp, so let me do that there and apply it. And there it changed the pre-comp to 23.976 as well. The comp start number is now set to 1, and the end duration is set to 45. In the settings, if you type in plus or minus, it'll adjust it. So I'll add this, I'll add 20 to this, and I'll apply it. And it's added 20 to the comp duration. So now it's 65. Last but not least is the external scripts options. I'll click on the preferences and turn those on. I'll turn off the grouping. What this does is it allows you to run external helper scripts that can make quite a few different things happen. Currently there's none that are enabled. What I'll do is I'll click on the external scripts button. That brings up the whole dialog box showing external scripts. I'll enable the first one. This is called first and last. When that is set, it'll show up in the pull down. The path button allows you to click and select any script wherever they're located on your computer. Each script can accept different variables. Here I've got first and last entered, and the name of the script is called first and last. I'll show you how that one works. Here I've got a comp called talent name comp, and inside is a layer that's been named first and a layer that's been named last. I'll type in my name, Gary Reisman. I'll select the comp and I'll hit rename. And what it does is it actually takes my name, puts it into the comp name, and then it splits my name. So the first name is my first name and the last name is my last name. So check this out. I'll click on Dupe List and I'll insert a whole bunch of generic names that I got from AI, and I'll dupe list it. And presto, each one is named with the first and the last name. I'll go back into the scripts and I'll turn on some of the other ones. Here's one called UnSolo. What this does is that if you've got a busy comp and you want to solo just those layers, I'll hit solo, but sometimes you want to work on them further. What it does is it turns off the visibility of all the visible ones and then leaves only the solo ones visible. These two layers are now visible and everything else is turned off. When the external checkbox is checked and it's unsoloed, it unsolos those layers, changes the color of those layers, and also adds a little marker to tell you that they've been turned off by the unsolo script. And then there's the Resize script. Similar to the After Effects scale composition script, all you have to do is turn that on, apply checkboxes to both the main and the pre-comp. In the main var section, type in the multiplier. I'll do 2.0. I'll select the main comp and process. When this is applied, it will double the size of the comps. However, it didn't scale up the elements on the inside. To do that, click on the external checkbox, and then when that is done, it automatically scales all the elements inside to fit accordingly, as well as the pre-comps. And finally, there's the translate whole comp script. Here's what it does. It's a little bit of a hack and only works on the Macintoshes for now. It uses the Apple shortcuts. Here I've got it set to detect language, set to Spanish. I'm going to unclick the layer names here so it doesn't rename the actual layers themselves. I'll hit rename, and presto, it's turned into Spanish. If I want to try another language, all I have to do is select in here, and I'll change this one to say Japanese. Click here and translate it. And I have no idea what it says, but that's Japanese, I think. And here's French. Those are the little external helper scripts I have right now, but I have a few others in the works. So check back or send me a message and let me know if you have any ideas. And that's how to use the Rename a Duper script for After Effects. It's a true labor of love, and I use it every single day, so I hope you find it as useful as I have.